Looking back on our collective childhoods, we can point to many examples of animated TV shows and film that made us decide to want to become cartoon characters ourselves. Yet many of those properties have been lost to time and become nothing more than just distant memories or even furry legend. Welcome to Forgotten Theater, where you and I will be looking back on those furry things that were trailblazing properties that inspired many of us in the fandom. Now, before we begin, we gotta talk for a second. Today's video, you might see some insensitive material, or material that's outside of the norm of what we expect on television today. Things like racial insensitivity, through the portrayal of anthropomorphism through a race of people as a race of insects, alcohol or drug use, and smoking. The 90s were a different time. The saying is, you don't know someone else's journey until you've traveled in their shoes. So let's take a moment to relive some of those first steps that turned millennials into rats, mice, maybe even a cockroach or two. Go on and grab the junk food and your American flag. This is Capital Critters. Capital Critters is a one-season animated sitcom that aired on ABC in 1992 and was a fledgling attempt to capitalize at adult-oriented shows like The Simpsons on Fox. This was an animation aimed at making fun of politics for the adults while still providing animated entertainment for children. However, our mice furries might remember this, albeit briefly on television. It only lasted 2 months on its initial run, and seeing as how we just had an election, let's let our vermin, no offense intended guys, have a solid win here. So let's meet the cast of Capital Critters. Max is played by a very young Neil Patrick Harris, who at the time had only done Doogie Howser MD on television. He's a naive mouse that's forced to experience life in the ever-growing complex city of Washington, D.C. He's resourceful and eager to make his way through the world, and he seems happy to just be alive and wants to share that joy of the world with others around him. He has many lessons to learn and wait a second, hang on. Did his family just get holy crap, they just murdered his family! Holy crap, they just murdered his family. Not cool, dude. First episode, off the gate. Here's a children's show. Watch mouse murder. Jammit, played here by Charlie Adler, is a rude, crude mouse that early on in the first episode establishes himself as the raunchy humor guy by asking Max if he is able to steal any liquor on the plane flight to Washington, D.C.
Nice flight.
Swell.
School of any of them little booze battles?
He steals pornography from a tourist.
Nazi milkmaids in Acapulco? What kind of book is this anyway?
Travel guide. I got a whole collection.
I think that Jammit is here to ensure that mom and dad stay in the room at all times, rather than leaving the kids alone. Trixie is voiced by Patty Deutsch, a middle-aged mother archetype that is known to always be smoking and wearing a housecoat.
Hello. Sure, who wouldn't like to save on long-distance rates?
Can you imagine smoking in a cartoon now? Holy cow! She isn't even promoting a product either. 1992, kids, was a different time, and we'll be seeing more of it was a different time moments as we progress. Hey look, mouse tits. Berkeley, our female protagonist, is voiced by Jennifer Darling, Irma from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She's the hippie, peace-loving mouse that seems to call everything, everyone, every instance that she doesn't agree with a fascist.
If I wasn't around to protect her, they would have ripped her to shreds.
Oh, please.
Hippie.
Fascist.
Nice little Nazi salute there, Burke.
Fascist.
She's Max's cousin and the only family that he has left.
Fascist.
She's the protest and activist of the group.
Fascists. Is everyone a fascist, dear?
Muggle is voiced by comedy sensation of the time, Bobcat Goldthwait. He is the product of thousands of hours of genetic modification and scientific experimentation, and is quite knowledgeable, yet unpredictable. Sometimes he explodes.
enough, Nebraska is one of the few states whose name is derived from Indian culture. It means flat water. Excuse me. I'm going to explode.
Last but not least, rounding out the majority of the cast is Mose, a cockroach voiced by Dorian Harewood. Again, this is 1992. While Mose is portrayed by African American, the stereotype in the show is that all African American archetypes are cockroaches. Mose seems to be the guy just going with it, and uses his cockroach sensibility and biological abilities to help his mice friends when the going gets tough. Again, this is a different time. They did used to stereotype whole races of people as a species in furry film, television, and literature. The series itself isn't too unique in that Max, a country mouse, moves from the Midwest to Washington, D.C. to live with his cousin Berkeley, after his family is, as we have seen, gassed to death by exterminators. Max then discovers a complex world living beneath the White House with his rat and cockroach friends. The series has several references to pornography, beer, drugs, and other adult topics. Like the scene where Max just moved in with Jamet, and Jamet is experiencing a wet dream.
Oh, yeah. Oh, use my tail, yeah.
I can honestly say I have never said to anyone, use my tail. This was one of those get everyone in the room watching TV shows. Just enough slapstick for the kids and just enough adult humor for the adults. There's even an episode about interspecies love where it's heavily alluded to that Jamet and then Max get laid. This episode would only air, though, on Cartoon Network 3 years after the show was canceled. We'll get to that in a second. Capital Critters was animated by Hanna-Barbera Productions under, and you'll never believe this, Stephen Bochco, co-creator of Hill Street Blues, L.A. Law, Doogie Howser MD, and most notably, NYPD Blue, Nat Maudlin, one of the network writers for Barney Miller, Newhart, and Night Court, and Mike Wagner, one of the writers for Hill Street Blues, The Rockford Files, and one of my personal favorites, Star Trek The Next Generation. The pedigree here seems self-evident that ABC and Hanna-Barbera should have had a hit on their hands. Or, pause. Initially into the run, ABC ordered a whole series of 13 episodes. But they only ever aired 7 as the themes seemed to be heavy-handed and the family-oriented programming for ABC was not conducive to what was on screen. The final 6 episodes wouldn't be seen by the public until 1995 in their entirety by the Cartoon Network. There's no obvious reason for cancellation either. The ratings have not been published that I could find. However, Variety magazine critic Brian Lowry said, and I quote, "At its best, the show seems to ape the work of film director Ralph Bakshi by using animated setting to explore adult themes, and that the bland central character and cartoonish elements will likely be off-putting to many adults who won't find the political satire enough to merit their continued attention. Similarly, kids probably won't be smitten with the cartoon aspects or look." And to be honest, I have to agree. While Bochco, Maudlin, and Ragnar wrote expert adult crime dramas, this seems to be a hodgepodge of adult political humor with squash and stretch visual gags fit better for slappy squirrel cartoons. So what are my impressions of this show? Well, as a furry, I do like the character designs of Max and Berkeley. I think they work very well. The color palettes are pleasing to the eye, and as are their muzzle designs. It's easy to tell that there's a difference between the rats and the mice, and it's not a grotesque image. And neither the cockroaches are presented as grotesque either. They're pretty standard, though, by animation designs. And mainly, too, the voices work. It's easy to pick up that Neil Patrick Harris is Max. If you have a really good ear and you could hear it, this was right as Neil was probably in his teenage years. So it really is a nice Max. I really come to think now, after seeing the whole series, of Max as NPH's persona. And the nasally voice for Berkeley works as well. Similarly, the tough as nails Jamet and his New York accent, which I think they're trying to play off as just city accent, works well. The expertise of Charlie Adler does shine through, as any scene with Jamet is kind of memorable. The scenes with Bobcat Goldthwait also work very well too. He's not in full Bobcat mode. He's probably, if you were to get out the Spinal Tap dial, he's got it dialed to like a 3 or a 4. So Muggle as a character works as well. He's kind of the deus ex machina of the group, or Pinkie Pie, I would guess. Overall, though, the series hasn't aged well. It's a time capsule to the early 90s, and the White House is really just used as a backdrop, which I really like. Now, as a furry, the themes of equal rights, love is love, and anti-racist ideals are fantastic. However, these are seen through the rose-colored lenses of storytelling glasses for the time. But again, I could see Max, Jamet, and Berkeley inspiring someone's fursona. So, I really hope you enjoyed this edition of Forgotten Theater. Do you have any great memories that you'd like to share of this particular show? Did it impact you in any way? Please drop a comment below and tell us your favorite moments from Capital Critters, or the characters, or if you have a fursona, or were even inspired by Capital Critters. Please like and subscribe for more content like this, and look through my other videos. And very special thanks to Beaton for helping me get back up and running again with some of my technical aspects. And please go on over to his channel, Trash Can Tidbits. I'll post a link below to show him some support. Beaton's one of these, Beaton's the one that pointed me to doing a Capital Critters video for Forgotten Theater. So next time I'll be hitting the road with the Road Rovers. And yes, we're gonna play the Son of a Bitch song. So until next time, I'm Star Raccoon. Thanks for watching, and keep your stick on the ice.